Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Marcus C. Williams here. And I'm very concerned about the direction of our nation, the direction of our country, the country that I love, the United States of America. The only thing that I love more than my country is the Lord our Father in heaven and Jesus Christ. But what I see is happening in our country is our future is being stolen away by the few that are in power, not just in our government, but behind the scenes pulling the strings. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody in government that really seems set on challenging what's going on. There are a few people here or there that are more than happy to challenge the status quo. But the fact of the matter is, there are far too few that are actually in government that are willing to actually stand up and say that what is happening to our country, to our future, is the complete and utter dismantling of our nation. And this is why we as the people must stand up and push back. We can no longer stand sideways or stand on the side and stand idle. We can no longer sit on the couch or say, oh, okay, everything is fine. Let's just stand by. We must start getting active. We must begin to engage our local elected officials. We must begin to engage our state elected officials. The unfortunate part of everything is far too few people understand that it is the state that is causing the majority of the harm to our citizens. This is why we see the quality of life is very often worse off in states like New York or Michigan or California, states that have gone so far left that they're looping around to the other side now. But we also see those on the right that are so far to the right that they're looping around the other way. Right now, we have the left and the right, both so far gone that they are touching in the middle. And who's being left out? The everyday American citizen. Us, we, the people, continue to get left behind and disenfranchised while those who are in power on both sides manipulate our economy, stealing from us, the people. They steal our tax money and they siphon it away to put in their cousins' bank accounts, to put in the bank accounts of their friends through empty contracts that never really provide any of the work that they say is going to get done. And we see this not just on the local level, we see it on the state level and the federal level as well. And it's well past time that we as the citizens stand up and say no more. We, as citizens of the United States of America, continue to get slapped in the face on the daily by our elected officials and the people who are supposed to be looking after us, who say that they care about us. And some will say, well, this is the Democrats or this is the Republicans. No, it is both. It is both, because at the top of the pyramid, they both lie in wait together against us, the everyday citizens. This is repugnant and reprehensible, and this is why we as the citizens must unite and stand. Far too frequently, they try to put us at each other's throats, and they'll play us in this teamification of, oh, the Democrats, or oh, the Republicans, or oh, the this, or oh, the that, or maybe they'll put us against us because of our sexual orientation, or because of our gender, or because of whatever it is this Tuesday, you know? But they set us against each other while they benefit. Who benefits from the strife of the common man but the elites? And you know, you have these people in government on the so-called Democrat side, which say, oh, well, you know, it is the billionaires that are at fault and they must pay their fair share. Well, who is in Congress that is in the Democrat side that is putting the bills forward to actually say, hey, some of the way that the system works is wrong? They'll say, oh, well, we need to tax them more. Tax them more. Is it taxes that is really The answer, who is benefiting from all of these taxes? The government collects a multitude of taxes already. We're taxed when we buy something. We're taxed when we sell something. We're taxed when we're alive. We're taxed when we're dead. We are taxed far too much. So anybody that supposes or suggests that we can solve the problem of our nation and the interests of the people by taxing the people more heavily is a person that is against the people ourselves. They don't care about us. It is just amusing to make them feel good or sound good because they know that our citizens on scale are in distress, that our people are in distress, that we are clamoring for somebody, anybody to come to our rescue as a great savior. And there are no great saviors left. Let me tell you, the only savior that will ever come will be the second coming of Jesus Christ. But until that day, it is up to us as the citizens of the United States of America to stand up and say no more. This party system is nonsense. As a proud Republican and a proud conservative, I am ashamed of what many people are doing in the Congress of the United States of America, but I am more so ashamed of what is happening on our state level of government. The fervor, the people that have passion are being blocked out. Why are they being blocked out? They're being blocked out by those who are in power right now, who have been in power, that seek nothing more but to shore up their own power. Locally here where I am, we as the Republicans just lost the majority of our county in Monroe County. Why? Because there were many people for years and decades that were too concerned with carving out their own fiefdoms than actually serving the people and standing up. People are scared that they'll lose their little kingdoms, or they'll lose some of the back end money, or somebody may blackmail them, or they'll bring out their dirty secrets and air out their dirty laundry. Well, you were elected to represent us. It is your job to represent us, the people, we, the people, but you are too concerned about self that they can say nothing. You make it make sense to me. You make it make sense to me. If these elected officials are supposed to serve us as the citizens, where are we being serviced? We are being continually disserviced. And nobody is saying anything. The Republicans will blame the Democrats will blame the Republicans, but at the end, who suffers? It is us, the people. Now, fortunately, in the Republican Party, there are some very few in office that are working on pushing back against the status quo, that are working on standing up for the actual people. But they are continually met with harassment, disservice, and deregulation from their duties by those who are in power. Why is that? Why are Republicans attacking other Republicans who are standing for virtue, who are standing for the people, and who are standing to push back to actually change the way that the mechanisms of government work? Now, on the other side, you have the Democrats who cry all the time, oh, whoa, the Republicans are terrible. The Republicans are terrible. Is this true? You must ask yourself. We look at what's going on in Democrat cities. I live in a Democrat city, which is in a Democrat state, which is in a Democrat part of the country. And everything is falling to pieces and the people are being forgotten. It has gone so far that now they uplift illegal aliens above our own citizens. I had this conversation with some elected officials today. Elected officials that are Puerto Rican. Puerto Ricans are our citizens, our fellow countrymen. But these Puerto Ricans that are in power are out here pushing for illegal aliens. You make it make sense. Puerto Ricans are struggling in my state. Puerto Ricans are struggling in my city. Puerto Ricans are struggling in my county, and Puerto Ricans are struggling in Puerto Rico. And you have the audacity to uplift illegal aliens and to prioritize illegal aliens over Puerto Ricans. And you are Puerto Ricans. You are just that. It is the same thing with the Black Democrats who say that they care about the Black Democrats, but they don't care about us. You look at the Black communities, they are torn down. They are ensavaged by a continued denial the denial of basic necessities that are supposed to be provided by government. I'm not talking about extra expenditures or extra subsidies. I'm talking about the things that everybody agrees on that are supposed to be provided. Basic quality of education, denied. Basic quality of housing, denied. And this doesn't come from the fact that, oh, well, the government is being malicious against Black people. No, they are being malicious, not in action, but through inaction. It is the inaction of our government that is hobbling our citizens and our nation right now. The Democrats say that they care about Black people, but the Black community suffers. The Democrats say that they care about the Puerto Ricans, but the Puerto Rican community suffers. The Democrats say that they care about the working class and those who are impoverished, but they suffer in their cities, in their states. You explain it to me like I'm 5, how if the Democrats care, where I live in a Democrat state, in a Democrat county, in a Democrat city, why are all of the people suffering? So many. In my city of Rochester, New York, 53% are housing insecure. You make it make sense when the promises come from the Democrats that the Democrats care about our citizens. Make it make sense. Where do I see that they care about our citizens? The majority of the neighborhoods where the working class live are food deserts, but they care. Explain it to me like I'm 5. And this has gone on and gotten consistently worse for 60 years where I live that is Democrat run. So these Democrats continue to tell us that they care about us, but it is not shown through their policy. It is not shown through their behavior, and it is not shown through their funding allocation. Now, I would love to say something similar about a red district, a Republican district, but I cannot comment on the suffering that thereof if it is in part due to the policies there, but I would imagine that there are many other places that are carved out in similar ways. But I can speak to these people that say that they care about us. And it's very clear that the Democrats do not, because where they have solid control, the people still suffer. So please make that make sense. Now, as far as we go with the continued teamification, where they pit the Republicans against the Democrats, again, brothers and sisters, my fellow countrymen, I ask you, who is benefiting? You look at red country and red country is suffering. You look at blue country and blue country is suffering. It is us, the people, who suffer under the oppression of our government. Our government is oppressing us all. But they'll tell you, oh, don't talk about oppression. Oh, don't talk about disservice. Because what they don't want you to realize is that the white man, as well as the Black man, as well as the Latino, all of us all together, our American citizens, are being made to suffer by a government that no longer serves us, the people. Our government was founded to represent all of us, we, the people. It's right there in our founding documents. But unfortunately, the government has become too overwhelmingly huge, such a behemoth that it eats and it consumes all of its people and drains the resources from every single citizen. Explain it to me like I'm 5. These are the people who are supposed to care about us. These are the people who are supposed to serve us, and they do us a grave disservice. Why are the people not standing up? Because the people have become so oppressed by our government, by the policies, by the financial direction of the budgetary process, that the people struggle so much that the people are only concerned with their day-to-day survival. They don't want you to be able to have a concept of what is going on. So if you had the benefit to just stop, relax, take a breath for a second, they know that you, as the citizenry of this country, would see how terrible the government is stacked against you. Right now, I'm very concerned about what's happening on the left and on the right, because as we go forward, the only thing that I see is government expansion coming from both sides. Being a conservative and being a Republican, we understand that our foundations were built on small government. However, we've got Republicans out here that are promoting bigger government, not localized government, bigger federal level government, state level government. Why, as Republicans, would you ever support bigger government? You have lost the way. You have lost the path. It is just like the Democrats who say, we need more programs. We need more programs. We need more funding by the state. We need more funding from the federal government. Well, the funding doesn't come out of thin air, brothers and sisters. The funding comes from your taxes. And every dollar that is stripped from your wealth goes into the pockets of the elites who are using the government to disservice our people. And that is why we must stand. That is why we must unite. That is why we must come together. That is why we must shake off this oppression that has been thrust on us that is called this party system. Because right now, none of them are actually servicing us. And I pray that all firm and traditional conservative Republicans stand up and push back against the insanity in the Republican Party. And I pray that the few Democrats that are left, that are sensible, that are inside the party, stand up against what is being done over there. But the sad reality is I could probably hold my breath and die of suffocation waiting on either side to actually start to stand up. There are far too few members of Congress that are willing to stand up and push back to start to repeal all of these terrible laws and terrible budget allocations on the federal level that continue to impoverish our people. There are far too few in the state governments that will be willing to repeal many of these laws and budgetary priorities that continue to steal from the people. But at the same time, we have local governments, the governments that are the closest to the people, who are stealing every single penny that they can and smuggling it away for themselves, for their allies, and for those who are funding them on the back end. We must stand up and we must rise and we must say no more. No more, no longer will we stand idle. No longer will we sit by. No longer will we have our hope stolen away as our government hobbles the economy and turns it against our people. Right now, our economy is cannibalizing itself. Why is that? Because the jobs before I was even born were sent overseas, making it very difficult for my generation to have any sight of what the American dream is. So people are giving in to despair. And despair is the tool of the evil ones that rule, because they know that if you are in despair, you are less likely to challenge them because you have lost all hope. I pray you, fellow citizens, we can stand. Please, we can stand. We must unite. We must have hope because we together must rise up and overcome this oppression which is being thrust upon us by the creation of this new wave economy. They've sent all the jobs overseas. Now they're trying to bring the jobs back. But in the meanwhile, we have suffered through 3 generations of decline. The tail end of Generation X, both segments of the millennials, and now Gen Z. What are we to do? How are we to actually gain any ability to have any financial wealth and more or less financial wealth, financial stability? As a generation that has come up after our government has stolen all of the jobs away and sent them overseas. No longer can a basic job at McDonald's or a basic retail job working in the mall actually benefit you as a citizen. No longer can you have a family and work one job. Now, if you have a family and you have 2 parents, almost all of families are now being forced to have both parents work. This is because of the economy our government has created. It is intentional because they know that if our families were stable and independent of the government, that we would actually be able to see better what is being done to us. It has all been done purposefully, not just to steal the wealth of our community and of our families, but to steal the future away from us while it is given to the elites so that they are empowered. We right now witness a ton of horrible actions against our citizens. Most notably, the rising of foreigners and the rising of illegal aliens in our nation. They have been brought into our country by all different means, be it through visa programs or be it through a border wall that didn't exist. And they are reaping the benefits that should only be for citizens. And it is unacceptable. And we must stand. And anybody who says, oh, well, the illegal aliens this and the illegal aliens that, they deserve this, or we should treat them well, or we should be kind to them, they hate you as American citizens. Anybody that would raise an illegal alien or a foreigner above American citizens hates you. Understand that. And do not let that go. For as they hate you, you must push back against them. This is what must be done. We must stand now more than ever. Why must we stand? Because if not us, then who? Because if not now, then when? This is a call to action. Because we must identify that we have an upcoming election in the next, we've got about 11 months. And we've got a whole bunch of House seats that are coming up. We've got a whole bunch of different governorships that are being run for and different other local elections. Now, why is this important? Because we as the citizens have the ability to help or hurt our own selves by who is elected. Yes, I know and I understand that there are powerful forces embedded behind a lot of these election systems, but locally is where we can get active and make a difference. I understand that a lot of people are suffering in a lot of different communities and you have just become totally disheartened and you have been, all of your hope has been stolen away. This is why we must stand. This is why we must get active. But I tell you directly to you right now, hear me. It is not just the elections that matter. It is what happens after people get elected to office. And this is why we must stand now. There are those that are in office right now that are not doing the will of the people. They are disservicing us. And let me say this very clearly. Anybody that is advocating for bigger government or more government programs on the state or on the federal level is trying to steal away your future from you. They are lying to you. Our country was founded on American exceptionalism and rugged individuality. But they don't want you to be able to be free of the government, which oppresses you. They want you to put more reliance on the government. This is why they broke up families. This is why they hobbled the education system. They don't want you to be able to get a good job. They don't want you to be able to create a wholesome family. They want you to be in despair. They want you to have no hope for the future. They want you to see no end in sight to the misery of the day-to-day turmoil that we see. This is why the news media is filled with all types of insanity. The news media continues to bash you over the head with war, famine, all types of nonsense, right? Hate your neighbor. These people are hateful. Those people are hateful. The media bludgeons you day after day. Democrats bad, Republicans bad. Bludgeon, bludgeon, bludgeon. Because the media hates you. The media does nothing more than serve the elites that are in power. And you ask me, Marcus, who are these elites? Well, I tell you this very truly, and listen to me clearly. These elites, as many would have you believe, are just the billionaires. No, my friends, it is more than just the billionaires. It is those who are in power on a global level. There are people beyond wealth and beyond measure that are behind the different governments across the world that are pushing this concept of globalism. You don't need borders. Just let everybody in. Everybody's a global citizen. Absolutely not. Hell has open borders. Heaven has strict immigration policies. And this, my friends, is why we must stand. For too long have we, the citizens of the United States of America, suffered under the oppressive thumb of government promises that never come. Here where I live, we spend millions, tens of millions of dollars a year on homelessness and poverty. Every year, homelessness and poverty grows. How can that be possible if they're throwing our tax money at it? Where are those results? Every year, we see more money being spent on colleges, but we know that 89% of the students that graduate from college never get a job in the field that their degree is for. We know that there are innumerable companies hiring right now for skilled labor that the people just don't have. We understand that there is massive need for those who have technical skills in different industries, but the education system has not furnished them. Now, understand that by no measure are the people who run government stupid. They may be negligent. They may not be concerned. They may even be malicious, but they are not stupid. They can see exactly what is happening. And this is why we must stand. This is exactly why we must stand. Our future is being stolen away by those who are in power. It doesn't matter about party, and they need to be called out wherever they stand. Anybody pushing larger government is a problem. Anybody pushing foreign interests is a problem. They need to be run out of government, whether it is the local, the state, or the federal level. Anybody that seeks to push foreigners ahead of our citizens is an enemy of our citizens. Anybody that seeks to expand the government to so-called help the citizens is an enemy of our citizens. Anybody that seeks to expand the taxes or increase the taxes is an enemy of our citizens. Anybody that plays in your face on a local level and raises the assessed values of properties while saying that they're lowering taxes, but somehow your tax bill still is the same or greater, is an enemy of the citizens. And this is why we must unite. We must come together and we must say no more. We must shake off the oppression from this government, and we must prop up people that are in government that are doing right by our citizens. However, it is the truth of the matter that I tell you that many people that are citizens know not that the government and their people that are members of their own party are disservicing them. And this is a very true shame. We must be able to identify when members of our own party are disservicing our community, when members of our own party are disservicing our countrymen. Because the fact of the matter is us as Americans, we have nowhere else to go. Canada does not want us. Mexico will not take us. If our country was to fall tomorrow, we would have nowhere to go whatsoever. And this is why we must stand. As we see an economy in tatters and a administration which desperately tries all types of things to show the appearances of propping it up, we forget that the Office of Budget and Management and the Congressional Budget Office has said that in the next 10 years, that the majority of the jobs will be lost due to AI and automation. And yet, our elected officials do nothing. They say nothing. And they go on caring about their business as if nothing is impending and if the disaster that is right in front of us is not in existence, because they know that they will be safe with their government pensions, with their government health plans, while the people suffer. We suffer because our elected officials care more about themselves and more about pumping up the continued status quo than they care about our own citizens. Because if they did care, why is the education system in such tatters? If they did care, why is the economy in such tatters? And if they really cared, why does the value of our dollar continue to diminish because of horrible monetary policies and the Federal Reserve and the fact that our dollar is not tethered to anything? This fiat currency is killing our nation, and it is robbing our people of every morsel of financial stability. We deserve better. Yet better never comes. And better will not come, my friends, until we as the American people stand up and say no more. It was our forefathers and the fathers before them that came and stood up to an oppressive, tyrannical monarchy that taxed them 3%, 5%. And now we are seeing taxes that are 35, 45, and in some case more than that. And yet the people do not stand. Why don't the people stand? Because our rugged individualism has been crushed by the oppressive government. Because our ability to operate outside of the government has been crushed. Because they know that if we had strong families, they know that if we were able to provide for ourselves outside of government assistance, they know that if we were able to provide for ourselves outside of government subsidies, that we would have more power than the government. And if we, the people, had more power than the government, the elites could not continue to strangle every little bit of energy, life, and livelihood from our nation. And I tell you true, that our nation is being strangled by those who say that they care. Don't let these people play in your face and tell you that they care. They do not care about you, not even in a little bit. They hate you. This is why they prop up foreigners above you. This is why they prop up illegal aliens above you. This is why they prioritize multinational corporations above you. This is why they have destroyed every system that is meant to shore up our economy. They have taken us off the gold standard, which has rapidly increased the inflation and decreased the value of our dollar. In the last 20 years alone, our dollar has lost almost 100% of its value. So things that were worth $1 20 years ago are now worth $10 now. So now you're paying 10 times the amount to buy what you would have 20 years ago. And people wonder why the youth cannot afford homes. People wonder why our future looks so dim. People wonder why people feel despair. People feel despair because the hope of a better future and a better tomorrow is being continually stolen away as they hedge the economy against our citizens. You hear talk of the stock market going up and up and up, but who benefits when 90% of the people don't own stocks? It is not us, the everyday citizens. How much is a 5-pack of gum now? $1? You know, like these are the conversations we need to have. It's been said that we had 24-hour Walmarts and a dollar menu and 24-hour gyms. And what happened? What has been taken from us? And some might see that as a joke, but I see that as a decline in the free time and the ability of our citizens to actually go out and live their lives outside of struggling. And this struggle is real, so they say, but apparently our elected officials either know not or they care not about the struggle. And we, the people, continue to toil in a fight against our own government for them to create an economy that actually works for all of us and not just the few. And this is why so many people are now clamoring towards socialism and communism, because they see that our capitalist economy is no longer working for them. But this is because our capitalist economy, our free market economy, has been turned into a cronyistic economy and really an economy run by the global elite. Because the only way for those in power to maintain power is to bend the knee to the global elite, to people that are in the World Economic Forum that want nothing more than to break down the boundaries of everywhere so that they can just siphon all of the money away from everybody. The same is true for the UN. The same is true for the World Health Organization. The same is true for all of these international treaty organizations that do nothing to help the United States of America, but they drain the resources of our people and of our taxpayers. How are we as citizens to stand up and be proud of our nation when our government is clearly against us? It is not just us that our government is against, it is against the future of our youth. The youth who suffer, the youth who clamor for more, for just a hope, a glimmer at something better for the future. But it is continuously stolen away. And we see now more than ever that housing has become out of reach for many. And even our government, which seems to be working to try to do something a little bit different, their solution, instead of giving us tangible money based on actual currency, which is gold and silver, they would prefer to extend a mortgage to 50 years. Let me be clear, people. A 50-year mortgage only enriches the bankers and decreases the wealth of the citizens. It is a shame that anybody would even suggest such a thing. It is a deplorable, detestful thing that anybody would discuss even at their lips, a 50-year mortgage. We know that the entry-level first-time house buyer age is about the year of 40 right now, 40 to 43. 40 plus 50 is 90. 90, people. The life expectancy of an American citizen is only 78. They want you to rent forever. They want you to never own anything. And that's outside of the fact that if you do buy something, you'll be taxed forever on top of that. This is something that must end. It is siphoning away the generational wealth that should be imparted on the next generation. And more so than that, it is keeping the citizens as indentured servants to the government and to the bankers. Nobody is benefiting more than the bankers in this economy currently. They are consistently bailed out by the federal government, both the Democrats and the Republicans. And as I have spoken on earlier, my friends, it is very clear that this is happening because they are both in league together against the people. Both Democrats and Republicans have joined together multiple times in the last 10, 15 years to bail out the banks instead of letting them fall for the faulty things that they have been doing, for the activities that they have been doing that have been disadvantaging our citizens. And now you see the average American is not even able to have a credit score that's able to get a loan. While you may know many friends and family who have electric bills or cable bills that were put in their name when they were 5 years old. You make it make sense. And why is that? Because the citizens have not been taught about the credit score and about financial literacy. Well, why do they want to keep you in the dark? Why do they want to keep you guessing on how money works? They only want to keep you guessing on how money works so that they can continue to siphon off the wealth of the people and get money off of the sweat of your brow and off of the pain of your back. It is too much. It is too much for any one nation to bear. That is why our nation is collapsing under the weight. That is why the birth rate is continuing to decline. And that is why they know that if they can control the media, if they can silence any opposition, and if they can shutter free press, and if they can shutter freedom of speech, that they can remain in control. For right now, there is a spirit, a zeitgeist of the times that is flowing throughout our communities, whether you are Democrat, Republican, independent, or whatever. And you can feel it now more than ever that the government is not working for any of us. Yet they continually pit us against each other. We are in a struggle against each other, at each other's throats. For who? For the elites, for the bankers, for those who are all in league with the media, for the many alphabet agencies that are controlling and manipulating us with multiple false flags and by putting people out there to run counterintelligence, like Jasmine Crockett or Nick Fuentes. These are people that we should recognize are being run by the government to the chagrin of the people. They are manipulating you with people that say some of the stuff that you want to hear, but will never tell you the actual truth and the facts of the matter. This is why we have both Jasmine Crockett and Nick Fuentes both saying that they want to empower the government and make the government stronger and have the government have more overreach into your everyday life. There is no difference, I tell you, my friends. There is no difference between a Jasmine Crockett and a Nick Fuentes. There is no difference between an AOC and a Valentina Gomez. There is no difference. I tell you that they are con artists that are being run against our citizens to tell you some of what you want to hear and meet none of the needs that you have. And we, the people, suffer. And this is why we must stand. Our economy is in a phase of massive upheaval. We are in a new industrial revolution, but so few people actually see what is going on. AI and mechanization is taking more jobs more rapidly than we have ever seen since the Industrial Revolution. And we do not have talented people that has been trained with the skills that will be needed in the future to actually get the jobs that will be left behind by the AI. I tell you this, those who run the giant manufacturing plants, those who run the military industrial complex, and those who run the medical industrial complex, the giant large manufacturers and the tech companies, they know what time it is. And they'll tell you openly. In order to fill the gap of the employability that is needed for the skills that they need for the various positions, it will take 10 to 15 years. This is what the people that are running these manufacturers are telling us. When will our government actually stand up and say, we understand and we will address the issue? No, they will not. But still, they try to push things on you like college or trade programs that seem to never materialize, workforce development in which no people are placed into any jobs, and subsidized job listings that are nothing more than ghost jobs and do not even exist. I know some of you out there right now that are listening have applied to 10, 15, 20 jobs even, many of which you are overqualified for and have gotten no callbacks. Some of which you have gotten callbacks for jobs that are well under your aptitude, and you still have not been able to find a job. I understand what is going on in the economy right now. I see it, brothers and sisters. And right now, we must understand that there are those behind the scenes manipulating the things that are going on in our nation purposefully to hobble our people. This is why they bring in the foreigner. This is why they bring in the illegal aliens. This is why we have so many local governments that are propping up the illegal aliens and the foreigners over our own citizens, because they know that if they can empower them above us, that they can use them as a tool to keep us down. And this is exactly what we see happen right now. They are setting us against the foreigner. They are setting us against the illegal alien. Why? Because they are a distraction. They are a real problem and a real issue. Do not get it twisted, but they are a distraction. So we do not see that it is the elite, that it is the people in power that have created this problem for us. They have created this problem for us so that we may not be able to focus on them, because they know that if we were able to focus on them, that we would then rise up and stand against them and demand that they give us our just due. We have people out there now that are pushing things that sound as though they are good and will help us, that are actually to the detriment of our people. There are those who are pushing an increased wage because they say that a wage that you make today will not be able to afford you food, nor will it be able to afford you shelter. And we know that to be true. But any increase in wage will come also with the same detriment in the way of rising costs, because rising wage requires a rising increase in price of goods. This could all be managed, my friend, by better monetary policies. If we return to actual tangible money, gold and silver, if we tie our currency back to gold and silver. But instead of that, our government has a Federal Reserve, which is not even a federal agency. It is a private bank of financiers, many who are foreign, that are siphoning away the wealth of our own people and the toil and sweat of our brow. And this is something that we must stand up and say no more to. We must end the Federal Reserve. But more than that, we must tie our currency back to real currency, which is gold and silver. For if we don't, my friends, the continued pump of inflation will go on, because right now we see that the Federal Reserve is getting ready to make that money printer go burr. They're ready to print up a whole bunch of new money, cheap money. And with cheap money comes real costs for our citizens. And those real costs that come from cheap money is inflation. This is why your 50-cent bottled water is now $1.50. This is why a granola bar, which should be 25 cents, is now $1.25. This is why we have inflation that has driven up the prices of housing and rental beyond the ability for the majority of our citizens to pay. But who speaks up for us? Who? I beg the question. Who is out there championing for us? When we see that these people, they get in power and they do us a complete disservice, they promise us the help that never comes. They promise us a situation in which we will be able to have more and get more. But in order to have more and get more, we must become more reliant on the government. But it is the government, I tell you, that has created a situation which pains us so. It is the expansion of government continuously that robs the wealth of the people and steals the future from the youth. It is the expansion of government and the forced growth of government that indentures our people to it. It is though we are chained to a monster that is continually taking slow chunks out of our own body. And we must escape, my friends. We can while there is still strength. We must stand. And in order to stand, we must get active locally. It is time that we demand more from our local elected officials, that we strip the power from our local elected officials, and we put the hands back in our citizens, the hands of power back in our citizens' hands. This is too important to continue to let go. People aren't speaking up, and it is a detriment so. This is why we must stand. I hope that I can encourage you to take heart and to stand, because if not now, then when? If not us, then who? I am sure that you see what is going on. I'm sure that you can feel in your heart of hearts that something is wrong, that we have been seriously disenfranchised, but you may not know who to blame. I tell you, most first and foremost, the majority of our issues come from our state government. Our various state governments are definitely continuing to do everything that they can to siphon away the tax monies from our citizen. They are doing everything that they can to hobble our citizens. They help those out who are financing their campaigns. They kneel down to those who are behind the scenes manipulating the markets. This is why we see many people who get elected somehow have a boom in wealth, a boom in wealth that seems to defy logic, that seems to defy reason. And it's not just on the federal level that we see this, it is on the local level as well. And it is about time that we, the people, stand up and push back against that. None of these people are our friends. If they would, their 20-year tenure in office would have actually provided us something. And this is something we see all too commonly. Like here in my area, we see people bounce from city council to the county ledge to school board and back again to the mayor, to the this, to the that. It is the same over and over again, my friends, the same people that are elected that are disenfranchising us for decades. And still there is no service. There's a promise of help, but it never seems to materialize. Why? Because they are all in it together. And then you beg them, you ask them to stand up for you, you ask them to advocate for you just for the basics. We want the snow on our sidewalk to be plowed. Well, I tell you, my friends, as I live in a snow-heavy state where there used to be even more snow when I was little than there is now, for some reason we can never clear the snow when it falls on the sidewalk so that people can actually walk, as they continue to push us out of the ability to drive and be freely mobile, and to things like public transportation on buses that smell like piss and poo, as we have drug addicts shooting up on the bus. But they can't clean our streets of the snow in our snow-heavy city. but they want to steal away your ability to be freely mobile as they cut down streets from 4 lanes to 2 lanes to 1 way, as they put barriers and medians up to assure that they can make it as difficult as possible. As we see the cost of an average car balloon, now there are many cars that cost more than what a house would have cost 10 years ago. And I say to you, why is this happening? Who let this happen? It has not always been like this. In my lifetime, it has gotten progressively worse, and I am a young man. How much more so somebody my parents' age or my grandparents? We have seen the deterioration of our nation's power on a global scale because there are those who are behind the scenes manipulating our government and telling us that we shouldn't be strong, that we should cooperate and negotiate with terrorists, that we should negotiate with other countries that would wish us harm, like China. These are serious issues. But who will speak for us? If not us, then who? If not now, then when? We must now more than ever stand up and speak up, because I promise you, the next 5 to 10 years, we will see the economy shift in such a way that we have never seen in 4 lifetimes. There will be such upheaval in our economy that people will not know what to do. The level of wealth disparity will increase to a point where you will either have or you will have nothing. You will become so reliant on the government for just your everyday provisions that you will not possibly be able to live anything that would be considered a decent quality of life. We have people that are in the government, and we have talking heads on the TV like Ben Shapiro that are saying that, well, nobody should actually have the chance to retire. Nobody needs to retire. Well, if you, sir, say that we need not to retire, I say to you that you are an enemy of the people. And we have those who want to raise the age of retirement in our nation. Why do they want to raise the age of retirement? Because they have done everything that they can to siphon away all of the money from Social Security benefits so that our people now have a collapsing Social Security benefit system, which started under Obama to collapse because during the Obama administration, they dipped into the Social Security trust for the first time in the history of Social Security. And Social Security is just that. It is like an investment account. If you do not have any money in the trust, the less money, the less interest that you can gain. And as the money has continued to be siphoned away, the interest cannot match the deductions that are gone to Social Security. And now we are facing the collapse of Social Security. It is pending. In the next 5 years, they will have to do something massive for Social Security to be able to be held up. As a matter of fact, my friends, my comrades, my compatriots, my fellow citizens, we must look at what is going on with all of the entitlement programs in our government right now and understand that the only thing that is solvent on any level is disability. And the disability solvency only extends until about 2040 right now. So we must understand that there's a massive subsidy collapse that is coming. It is necessary. And we must do everything that we can to shore up ourselves against the impending catastrophic calamity that is coming to our economic situation. Hear me now and pay close attention. As I tell you this, surely what we will see is we will see a greater push to the digitalization of currency. Surely, as they just got rid of the penny, it is a march to get rid of all of the currency that is physical that you can hold in your hand. It starts with the penny, and then money has to be rounded up to fractional prices because you can no longer operate in that level of currency. So it'll go from $1.01 to $1.05. And then they will get rid of the nickel, my friends. The nickel will be next, maybe even the quarter. This is something that we must understand. This is why they are pushing the acceptance of a digital ID and digital currency. It is a trap. It is a trick because they know that if you can't hold it in your hand, it is easier for them to control. These vile money changers that are in government are evil, and they seek to control every aspect of society. And this is why we must stand. I encourage you, have hope, for there is still light at the end of the tunnel. But there is only light if we are that light. If we light the way for others, if we encourage others to get active now, we can still yet avert the calamity or at least make it softer. But we must stand. We must have heart, and that heart has been stolen from far too many whose lights have been dimmed out because they are concerned of what other people may think, what other people may say about them, or even possibly losing their jobs. Because this is the oppressive type of government and society that we live in now, where it is not the government outright that is oppressing us. It is other people in our society that is towing a line of different stuff that has been pushed down from people in the government. I remember, as a New York citizen that has lived through COVID, I remember them saying that if you have more than 2 people at Thanksgiving, that your neighbor should inform on you to the police. Well, I tell you, my friends, that is nothing more than Nazi Germany brown shirt activity. And where were those who now oppose Trump and the ICE agents who are not showing their faces or ID? Where were they to speak up for us then? They demanded us to show our vax passes to get into public facilities. They demanded that we showed our vax passes to get into shopping centers. They demanded that we showed our vax passes to go out and get formula for our children. And they said nothing. And now they seek to say, oh, well, we must stand for the foreigner because they are not showing warrants, because they are not showing their ID when they come for these people who are here illegally. But you were the ones who were informing on us on Thanksgiving. You were the ones that were demanding that we show our ID to get into places to go shop for food. I will never forget what has been thrust upon us as our citizens in New York State. I will adamantly stand against anything that is authoritarian or totalitarian. I do not care whether it comes from the right. I do not care whether it comes from the left. I do not care whether it comes from the sky or it comes from beneath the ground. I believe very firmly in American exceptionalism and rugged individualism. I believe that you are much more than the sum of a government. I believe that you are our nation, that you, being our citizen, are the most precious of things. And yet we see those who push to destroy life as it is in the womb. And you have to ask yourself why. And you may say, well, I am for abortion and I am for this. And I believe in rights to ownership of the body. But again, I tell you, you were the same people that denied us our own health sovereignty during COVID. So how can you say such things? And you have to ask yourself, who is pushing this agenda of getting rid of your children? Who is pushing this agenda of not having a comprehensive household? Who is pushing this agenda that we don't need more population as our social security network is collapsing because we do not have enough actual citizens to prop it up, because social security is nothing more than a pyramid scheme, the same with Medicaid and Medicare. But then they'll tell you, these same people that say to murder your baby will tell you to your face that we need to let in all of these illegal aliens and all of these foreigners because we need more people because we're not having enough children. I tell you, pay attention, use your eyes, use your ears, and use your brain, because these people are insane and they are clearly manipulating you. And this is why we must stand. But we must stand together and we must stand united, all as one people, as American citizens, not divided, all united, because they have done everything that they can to knock out Christianity from our country, because they know that Christianity is a religion that we can all relate to and that we can all find comfort in. They don't want you to have any rest. They don't want you to have any comfort. That is why they have done everything to strip away Christianity in our nation. They don't want us to be able to unify behind Christianity. They don't want us to have any feeling that we will be able to have better in the next life. They want to do everything that they can to separate us from the Lord our Father himself. They want to separate us from our founding principles and our founding values, which is based in Christianity. And this is something that we must know and we must see, for it is true. And I encourage you to listen to me, not just because I'm saying it, but because I'm going out of my way to tell you. There are those who will tell you, oh, well, listen to what he's saying. He's not making any sense. Am I? Am I making sense? I encourage you to listen to the whole video. Because the fact of the matter is whenever anybody speaks up against what is going on, especially when they say anything that is trying to sound even a little bit like unification, they will try to shut everybody down. They take people out. They assassinate people. They make people go disappeared when they speak about uniting as citizens. This is why they closed down the churches. This is why they closed down the bars during COVID, because they knew that if we were to meet together and we were to speak about the insanity that was going on, that we would all recognize that we were being done wrong. But they don't want you to recognize that. They don't want you to understand that we're being done wrong on a massive scale. And right now we see something that is happening that hasn't happened in ages. This concept that the Jews are the enemy of our republic. Well, let me ask you, why is that a narrative that's being pushed at this time, right? This is a more recent acquisition of this narrative. Where did it come from? I tell you where it came from. It came from the globalist elites that are behind the scenes that are doing everything that they can to sow terror and fear, not just in our nation, but in Europe. They are pushing all of these foreigners into our countries. They are pushing the Islamification in our countries so that they can put the people into fear and despair, and that way they can more easily control them. And who benefits? Well, that way they're able to get more people that consider themselves to be Jewish to go back to Israel, because that is the end goal. They want to rebuild the temple so that they can usher in the Antichrist. Now, you can believe what I'm saying or you can disagree with what I'm saying, but the fact is that the people that are doing it desperately believe in it. This is why they've already sacrificed a red heifer. Please look into this. This is serious things. And it doesn't matter what you believe or what I believe. You just need to understand that there are other people that really, truly believe it, and they are pushing it with every effort and every dollar that they have. That's why they have pushed you away from Christianity, because they know that if you knew the truth, they know that if you were closer to God, they know that if you stayed in the Bible, you would see what is actually happening. That there are those who are seeking to create what is happened in the book of Revelation so that they can usher in the Antichrist. It is not that it is necessarily the time for the end of times, but it is them who is trying to hasten the end of times, and we must adamantly stand in opposition of it. We must stand up now more than ever. These same people are the ones who have crushed the governments in the European Union. These are the same people who have crushed the farmers in the Netherlands, who have crushed the farmers in France, who have crushed the farmers in England, who have expanded the surveillance state in England, who are expanding the surveillance state in the United States, who are crushing the farmers in the United States. The same thing that is happening over there is what's happening over here. And it is all being orchestrated by the same people that are behind the scenes. And this is why nationalism is so important. But they try to discourage you from nationalism. They try to discourage you from Christianity, because they know that in Christianity and in nationalism is righteousness. But they know that if they can deter you from that and they can make it sound like it is a bad thing, that they can get you to believe whatever they'll sell you. This is, again, the reason why we see not just a rise of anti-Semitism, but a rise of favorability of Nazism. You know, there are those who are in the Democrat Party that say, oh, well, these people are Nazis, those people are Nazis. It is the Democrats who are Nazis. They are open socialists and open communists, and they'll tell you that you are a Nazi. Well, let's see, why is Nazi becoming more prevalent and popularized? It's become that way because we associate Nazism with Mr. Mustache. We associate Nazism with the Holocaust. And because it is only associated with two things, we do not know the true terror of National Socialism. The true terror of National Socialism, my friends, is just that: the empowerment of the government above the individual, the collectivization of power in the hands of the few who run the government and need massive expansion and globalization of their power dynamic to actually shore up a stranglehold across the populace and make sure that they continue the growth of their pyramid scheme of finances so that they can maintain control. And we see this concept grow. But you would never notice it and you would never recognize it because they have bastardized the concept of Nazism, while the left promotes socialism and nationalism. But they tell you that nationalism is wrong. But really, they're saying that we should reclaim patriotism while at the same time pushing socialism and empowerment and expansion of the government. Well, that right there in and of itself is either open communism or National Socialism, which is Nazism. And again, this is an expansion of the power of the government, which we must understand. And now we have people on the right saying, oh, well, maybe we need the government to do more. Maybe we should empower the government to do more. How dare you be on the right, be conservative, or be Republican and say that we should expand the power of the government, especially on the federal level? Again, that is walking right into the concept of National Socialism. But people don't see it because the concept of Nazism has become so watered down because the left has called so many people that are not Nazis and labeled so many things that are not National Socialism Nazism. So people can't even recognize it as it comes to arise because the left wants socialism and the right wants more power. And together, they are creating a totalitarian, authoritarian, oppressive surveillance state that is operating against all of us. This is why we see the expansion of this push for digital ID. Please go look that up. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm going out of my way to tell you and warn you and advocate for unity in our nation, understanding what that puts at stake for myself. I see that. But I see the massive evil that is going on and that is transpiring in our nation. And how could I not say anything? Every day things get worse and worse, and they hasten the demise of our country as an individual republic. Every day things get worse and worse, and more people are suffering as they lift up and they champion for illegal aliens, and our citizens suffer. How could I not say anything? How can I continue to sit idly by as our people are oppressed by our government on both sides? How can I sit here knowing what I know, seeing what I see, and not say anything just for the simple risk of my own welfare or risk of my own treasure? Why? How could I be a firm Christian and go before the Lord our Father when I meet my end and tell him that I saw what was happening to my nation? I saw the collapse coming and imminent, and I saw that everybody was being led astray, and I said nothing. How could I do that? And this is why I encourage you to stand. I hope that I can encourage you to be a light that sparks the fuse of change in our nation, a recalibration to our roots and our foundation, so that we can restore the power to the people and take it out of the hands of the government, that we can shrink the federal government, that we can shrink the state government, so that we again can live as a free people, as the American citizenry. But in order to do that, we must unite together. We must push past this teamification, because clearly, as I live in a city that is Democratic for 50 years, completely run by Democrats, the people continue to suffer. The suffering grows worse every single year, even though the Democrats always promise help. That never comes. I sit and I watch what goes on in our local government, and we have Republicans that refuse to speak up against the horrors that are happening here. They refuse to speak up against the men and women's bathrooms. They refuse to speak up when city council passed a law that says that men can be in the bathrooms with little girls and in the showers with little girls. And they'll say, well, Marcus, that is homophobic or transphobic or whatever. But the legislation says nothing about homosexuals or trans people. It says that it is based on gender identity and gender expression, neither of which have anything to do with sexuality or homosexuality. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy, but the Republicans won't speak up. We see the continued issues with our school system, but the Republicans don't speak up. Why is that? And there are some good Republicans that we have that are my brothers and sisters in the Republican Party that I love so much, and they are encouraged to be silent on these issues. Why is that? Where is the boldness? We already see that the Democrats are all in one voice saying nothing whatsoever, even though they see the horror show, which is our city, even though they see the horror show, which is the Democrat policies that are disenfranchising our citizens, our working class, and those in poverty. And the Democrats continue to pass these policies, and nobody in the Democrat Party says, boo. And now I am not talking about the everyday Republican citizens. I'm not talking about the everyday Democrat citizens. I'm talking about the people inside the party. You mean to tell me that none of the Democrats in the Democrat Party see the horrors of what is being done to our Democrat-run city because of Democrat policies and budgetary measures? I don't take, as I said before, none of these people are stupid. Maybe malicious, maybe go along to get along, but none of them are stupid. So understand that they see what's going on, that they know what's going on, and they refuse to say anything. They are both hastening the oppression of our citizens because they speak up not. Why is that? Because they are scared to say anything, because they are concerned of how it will look during an election, because they are concerned of maybe they won't get any more financing from their financiers. Because they're scared because what? They'll be blackmailed? What are they scared of? They are supposed to represent us, the citizens, we, the people, and they do not represent us. They represent a small collective of elites and people that they have brainwashed to think that they are morally virtuous. But in the end, it is us, the people, who suffer. And this is why we must rise. This is why we must stand now. And this is why we must push back. And it starts on the local level. It starts on the state level, because the federal government is far from us, and where we can be most impactful is on the local and state level. It is not just about elections, people. It is about when these people are in office now. We see them doing all types of evil stuff, including pushing legislation to murder our elders in New York State, where I live. And people are not standing up. Do Democrats love to murder elders and babies now? Where are the Democrats that are standing up against this so-called compassionate suicide bill? Where are they? Nobody? Not a one? What is going on? This is why we have to think with a clear head, look with clear eyes, and listen with clean ears. Because we are being attacked from those who are supposed to be serving us. We have a current administration in the federal government now that is making all types of plans and doing all types of stuff that is different than things that we have done in the past. Like they've got these baby bonds that are coming up as private investment accounts for the children and for the youth as an investment in their future. This is a fantastic idea. I've promoted this idea for years. We've got a massive reinvestment coming back into our country because of the current administration. But what we forget is that with all of these investments coming back into our country, the people who are in control of the school districts and the education are on the state level. So it doesn't matter what the federal administration does. It matters what happens on the state level. It matters what happens with fuel costs on the state. There are other states where the gas is low, like $1.95. Here in New York State, we could only wish. We could only wish. And this is the problem, because people do not recognize that it is the state. Now, let me tell you something else about the state level issues. I live in a Democrat state. I live in New York State. They have pushed this nonsense of shutting down our natural gas supply and shutting down natural gas power plants, even though almost 60% of our energy in New York State is produced by natural gas. And let me be very clear, not just energy, electricity is produced by natural gas. 60% of the electricity. I think it's like 58% or something like that currently. Why is that happening? Why are they pushing all of these solar panels, even though it's so cloudy outside and so snowy outside, you couldn't even get a lick of spit out of solar on scale. They're pushing these wind power things, and all of this costs us way more than the amount of energy that ever comes back from them. Why is that where they're focusing our money? Because it is a con, people. It is a con. Not only is it a way for them to siphon away our tax money, but it is also a way for them to more so control the pricing. And if they can make energy more expensive, they can more easily control you, because energy makes everything go round. Let's be very clear. The government controls the internet and they control the electricity. And as long as they control both the internet and the electricity, they can shut you out of society at any given chance that they want when they decide that they don't like something that you said. And if you think that it's not happening and it's not coming soon, I encourage you, wake up. And I want to leave you with this message: to have heart and to be encouraged. As we go into this new year, knowing what we know, knowing what we have just talked about, know this, that there are others who are willing to stand up, but we must start to unite together. It is not about party. It is not about race. It is about us as American citizens standing up for ourselves, for our founding principles, and for shrinking the government to restore the power to the people the way our government was originally founded. Small government, less taxes, more power for you as the sovereign, divine individual created and fashioned in the image of the Lord, our Father in heaven above. I'll catch you guys later. If you want to subscribe to any of my channels, you follow me online, reach out to me, okay? And you can also support by donating on Cash App or whatever, or up there, depending on where you're looking. You guys, we have to unite together now more than ever. So I encourage you, have heart, do not be faint of heart, do not shut up, stand up, speak up, don't shut up, take action. You guys be blessed and be well. I'll catch you guys later, and be strong. We can do this, but it's going to take us uniting together.